In the pregame loadout for the 9 Easter egg, I like to use the following. For elixirs, I use Equipment, Anywhere But Here, Temporal Gift, and Arsenal Accelerator. But it's personal preference. You can use Pop Shocks, Aftertaste, and Burned Out as substitutes. For perks, I like using Dying Wish, Time Slip, Stamina Up, and Quick Revive as my modifier. Again, it's personal preference, but you can use things like Winter's Wail, Bandolier Bandit, and Victorious Tortoise as well. My specialist is the Hammer of Valhalla, grenades are Wraithfires, and I start with the Strife with the Knife mod. Double check that you are on a normal game and not an easy game as your difficulty. Start your game off by completing the challenges so you can get a Pack-a-Punch Strife early on. Get Pack-a-Punch open, build the shield, and get the Death of Orion. If you don't know how to do any of those things, I have guides, links in the descriptions, or cards in the top right. Opening Pack-a-Punch will complete the step, Blood Must Flow. Once Pack-a-Punch is open, you need to find a skull with a blue symbol on it in the Pack-a-Punch room somewhere. Here's a map of all possible locations. Basically, it's 6 locations mirrored on both sides of the room. When you find the skull, use your specialist weapon next to it and it will pop out. It is very difficult to find, so if you don't see it right away, don't get frustrated. But if you do find it, pop your specialist, pick it up, next head to the Flooded Crypt section and you will need to find a grinder. The grinder has 3 possible spawns in this room, and they are all on these little alcoves in the wall. When you find the grinder, interact with it and the skull will be placed. You then need to shoot 3 charged shots of the Death of Orion at the grinder to mash up the skull. Once you shot it 3 times, interact with the grinder again to pick the stuff up. Now, if you are not at round 10, then try to get there. In the meantime, you'll need to get negative affinity. You'll notice at the bottom left of your screen there is a thumb pointing up or down. You need to get the thumb all the way down, glowing red. You easily can do this by standing in the fire in the spawn area, and then maybe throwing grenades up into the audience. When your thumb is all the way down, eventually the crowd will throw some poop at you. You need to pick it up. When you hit round 10, you need to get a gladiator. Those are the big axe guys. Get a gladiator to throw an axe at one of the wooden towers in the spawn room. You can do this by hiding behind the towers. It can be very tricky, but if you think you got it, then look for a piece of wood that broke off. Pick it up and head to the Odin Tower basement. Interact with this cauldron in the middle to place your wood piece. You'll need to pass a few rounds. In the meantime, try to get Firebomb as your Pack-a-Punch upgrade on one of your guns. After a few rounds, the wood should be glowing orange. Pick it up and head to the ZEUS Tower basement. There should be a bowl to interact with. If you have the poop, mashed up skull, and burnt wood, you should be able to place all the stuff in the bowl. Wait another few rounds until you see the mix glow green. Pick it up and head to the DANU Tower basement and place it there in the middle. You then need to get a Firebomb kill on top of this mix. When you do it successfully, the screen will flash white. Stand in the middle of this glowing blue area and wait. You can use your specialist if you have zombies around, but you need to stand in this circle for a few seconds, and you will be teleported to the first trial. This is very easy. You just need to shoot the red pods on the walls. Every time you successfully destroy one, you will get a max ammo. Do this 3 times and the trial is complete. This will complete the Purge the Blight step. You need the shield for this step. You need to find 4 golden bowl symbols hidden around the map. When you find one, you need to shoot these symbols with your shield gun. Afterwards, a gladiator will spawn. Kill it and a yellow orb should float to the raw tower. Do this 4 times and you should move on to the next step. Here are all symbol locations. Starting with the 3 above ground, we have the location way above the spawn door on this wall. Our next spot is on the bridge between the Odin and ZEUS top floors. Next, on the top floor of the DANU Tower, looking outside the window where the audience is. Now for the below ground ones, there are 6 down here. First, there is the DANU Tunnel looking up these stairs. In the Flooded Crypt, past this open wooden door. In between the Odin and ZEUS basement areas. In the pit in this zombie spawn. In the Pack-a-Punch area up here. And finally in the raw basement in this zombie spawn. When you have all 4 gladiators, go to the top floor of the raw tower. You will see a blue symbol on the obelisk. Interact with it to start a lockdown. You'll quickly be flashed 4 blue symbols. You need to remember these. If you're on solo, just pause the game in between each one. Here's a chart for all the symbols. Each symbol corresponds to a certain enemy type. You need to kill the enemies in the order that the symbol showed. Some things to watch out for are fire zombies. If they explode, it will not count, and you'll have to restart. Be careful when shooting, as it's easy for multiple enemies to get in the mix, so be very precise. If you fail, you'll need to pass the round and try again. If you did it correctly, these symbols will stay on the obelisk and 4 new symbols will start flashing. So basically you just need to do this twice successfully until there's 8 symbols on the obelisk. This will complete the Answer the Dawn step. Head to the middle of the spawn room and interact with this glowing pedestal. You will be teleported to the basement area and need to shoot 4 screws until they disappear. These are very obvious and are in zombie spawns. It doesn't matter what you shoot it with, just keep going until you see an electric pole replace the screw. The locations are here in the curse room, here in the DANU tunnel, here in the collapse tunnel, and here in the pit area next to the Odin entrance. Once all 4 are shot, you need to get a weapon with kilowatt on it. Up in the spawn room, you will see 4 electric poles on the ground. Next to them are blue rings. You need to kill enemies with kilowatt in the blue rings. If it's a large enemy like a gladiator, then it will give up a lot of progress. You know a pole is full when you see it glowing blue. Do this for all 4 poles and you are done with this part. Next, in the center podium, you will see 4 glowing orbs. Interact with all of them quickly to start another lockdown. For this lockdown, just spam your specialist weapon. You basically have unlimited amount of energy, so go crazy. After a few minutes, the lockdown will end, and this will complete the Summon the Storm step. For this step, you'll need the Death of Orion. You need to shoot symbols in a very precise way. This step is very annoying, so don't worry if you don't get it right away. Basically, head to the locations I do on screen and stand and aim in the ways that I do. You need to do this for 3 symbols. Basically, you are lining up 3 sets of 3 symbols with 1 Death of Orion shot. You know you've shot a symbol correctly when it makes a blue flash of vortex-like animation. When all 3 have been shot, you can head over to the shield room. You will see a grate back here. There is a pressure plate you need to stand on for a few seconds, and you will enter a lockdown. This lockdown has 3 waves of enemies with max ammos in between each wave. I recommend using the trap on the left to keep the left hallway on lockdown. There's going to be a bunch of enemies, including Blightfathers, so have your Death of Orion ready to put good work to them. This lockdown isn't too bad, but on the 3rd wave, keep an eye out on the grate that you stood on to start the lockdown. A key should be at the surface. Interact with it to end the lockdown. This completes the Channel the Flood step. This is the boss fight, so make sure you have everything you need. Homunculuses are highly recommended, Death of Orion, and a good weapon. Once you're all set up, head to the spawn room and the portal will be here. Interact with it to start the boss fight. This arena is pretty big, so getting cornered shouldn't be a problem. You'll get a lot of enemies spawning out of this left gate. You will get a ton of max ammo, so don't worry about using ammo and homunculuses. Eventually, a giant elephant will come out of the gates. You need to shoot its sides in the ribcage area. I use the central structure as cover, as there are guys that throw spears that are on top of the elephants, so watch out for that. You can kill them if you want. Basically, keep shooting the rib area until its armor pops off. If the armor pops off, the spear guys go away. Then you shoot any glowing red areas, including the ribs. There's also a dot on his head. Once it's dead, another elephant will spawn. Basically do the same thing you did with the first elephant, and that one is dead. You will hear a few quotes, and then a cutscene will play. This will give you the Venerated Warrior trophy.